because I'm trying to put in order my thoughts about the internet and how it is used in a negative light, in a negative darkness, more than in a positive light. And Jesus understood this in Jesus' anger in this parallel universe that we live, to say, one man's food, another man's poison. Not everyone has the same taste. And so, of course, we're going to be divided in the society. Jesus did say, get away from me. On the one side, the goats, on the other side, the sheep. In other words, modern day age relevance is people are having cats and dogs, not sheep and goats on a farm, reflecting on God's original intention is to support sinners that are not religious, to be less prejudiced and more accepted, more acceptance rather than persecution and bullying the Christian people. That was the divine intervention on God's Son, who is Jesus. Jesus' ministry and mighty work was to say, you cannot love money more than God because it is the root of all evil. However, you can still enjoy being rich and having lots of money and focus and be money orientated and work orientated, career orientated. That's okay, as long as God has that mercy, and God is going to be enjoyed, loved, admired, worshipped more than money. So that's my view and my vow, promise to God. When other people are looking at my image and my face or my body and attempt to remove my vow and my promise to God, and the promises God has given me is out of order and making me feel displaced, making me a target for abuse. And this is wrong. This is not what I have subscribed to. So to sharpen my argument, the interpretation, when I read my holy books or when I observe somebody else who is religious, the central, I extend my understanding of that religious place or other person preaching to me by freedom of speech and freedom of religion. But when they come to tell me what to do in my life and attempt to condemn me by using my past against me or some information that they've heard about me, that's when it crosses the boundary of limitation and being out of order and an external, I would call it a false religion, because it's an external source on the internet, which is now becoming an false religious extremist, to say that I would be in a better position if I do exactly what they tell me. So again, I have not subscribed to anybody to give me advice, to judge me, because of course they're going to humiliate me as a result of being my judge. It should be me being their judge because I have subscribed to them. So I'm trying to look to them to see how professional they are, how they could improve so that I could better understand them. I subscribe to them to see what they're mixing up and what they are clarifying for putting it in the right category in connection to me. And a better position is a sense that what is right for me is not going to be right for everybody else. So that's the complicated thing for looking at social events, looking at history, looking at interpretation religious content and social or sexual content. So it's a deterioration of making that progress when the people who are in charge, are in control of social media, do not provide us the tools to block discrimination and disrespect and I cannot demand anyone to like me or to respect me. And so when I don't have that tool to block that individual that keeps popping up elsewhere near my path or on my path, I know I'm being bullied. It's the cyber bully. So clearly, it cannot be called a royalty. It's a non-royalty. It's non-professional. And it's more criminal. So to turn things, to break down, to divide, to turn things upside down, it's going to grow worse, not better. So to restore Christ is to focus on Christ and to use Christ as a guideline and as a center point to put in a better position, rather than to use man's power, which is either political or religious. That's not focusing on Christ. When we are putting our focus on people rather than Christ, because they seem to think that they're better than Christ or that they're equal to Christ. Only Christ makes that decision personally, whether I am better than Christ or equal to Christ. Only Christ makes it, because Christ did actually say that there are people that are going to do more advanced spiritual things than Jesus did, such as walk on water. Jesus did say that, and other people will come after him who will do even greater miracles, because God will enable them to restore my personal relationship and private relationship with Christ, which is it. I wouldn't publicize it. So it's not appropriate when people have publicized a personal information when they're not persecuted and not bullied. So by human effort, I had said, if anyone wants to help me because they know I'm persecuted and bullied, they have to go through the right channel. I suggested the dating agency for the first time in my life, which is a Christian dating agency. I suggested that from there, I could, with the opposite sex, then delegate contact via email. And after the email, if there is good if there is effective communication, I would take it further to defeat any misinformation. And so these are my organization skills, to say I'm not depending on anybody, I'm independent. And so when I have an enemy who looks to dominate me and remove my independence and my human rights, it's an abuse of power and professionalism, and even the political power, professional power, or royal power. It's an abuse on me to victimize me and target me in that way, because the meaning of life is for me to have that independence, whether I'm disabled or it's my human right, and my human effort to remove a negative type of control that is going to victimize me and not support me in being less of a victim. It's increased to be more of a victim. So they're forcing me to carry my cross, and they want to crucify my Jesus all over again, intentionally, for the parallel aspect of those that are religious that are not persecuted compared to those that are religious that are persecuted. So not only is it prejudice, it is extremely a capitalist in the wrong sense. There is a right sense of being a capitalist. That means taking care of your money and loving God and respecting God, and the divine intervention with my money, because charity without love has no meaning, no purpose. It's a waste of time and space. So having that money in a position of capitalism where I acknowledge that money is the root of all evil, and not having enough money is also a root of all evil. So knowing that Christ's kingdom is of a different world, in the sense that God's authority is not centered around money. God's authority is centered around supporting people to help them and heal them, similar to a doctor, the similar thing that is everything in one man, who is Christ. How can he be everything in one go? And it seems impossible for Jesus to be a doctor, a lover, as a husband, or send us Mother Nature to look at the bride of Christ through the religious place, to say that Jesus was never married, but after he died and resurrected from the dead, a promise from God for the new planet Earth and a new body and a new wife is the plan and the power of God. So this is the purpose of God, being that what is the center of God? What is the center of Jesus? And it is everything. God is everything. It's all for one versus one for all. So one for all is bad. All for one is good, because God has died for all. And only God is good, who supports me to be good, not bad. So there's a warning against the enemies of God, who say that good is bad and bad is good, because they're sinners and they're false religious individuals, and they make matters worse when they're warmongering and fighting among themselves and using me as bait, which is humiliating. It's embarrassing. This pattern of behavior that only suits their narratives, this pattern of behavior that only suits their judgment without my permission. So I subscribe to you. That does not mean that you have an automatic right to judge me, to go into my underwear cupboard, to look at the size of my clothing, even though I had advertised that I'm a size 18. But they've gone to that extreme where they think they have an automatic right to stalk and spy on me, which is embarrassing, which is fear-mongering, and it's also war-mongering. So to go back, for me to fall on the ground and not get up again. So to have it weaponized, it's terrible. It's a social and domestic terrorism. So how is that, for example, the internet is going to suit the working class, and the internet is not suiting the crippled and disabled? The internet can be not used by the ethnic minorities, marginalized, and the unemployed. So they're doing this human government and social experiment, and I'm also observing that, which is extremely hostile to humanist in its fashion or style, in a dominion of not accepting and rejecting Christ. So it's anti-Christ, and this video is